Long ago, in an ancient land, lay a kingdom of unprecedented prosperity. Its king, well loved by its people. Though there had been some conflicts with the neighboring lands, war seemed far from the people's minds. Peace would seem to reign for some time more, until reports came of a mysterious black fog that had begun encroaching upon the land. First, it swallowed up a forest in Bashea, then a nameless lake, then an entire village, before eventually moving towards the kingdom proper. The king set out with his closest and most loyal knights, leaving the kingdom, and unbeknownst to him, the world in the hands of his daughter, Princess Katya. Wait. Crap. I grabbed the script for the wrong FromSoft game. I'm sorry guys, they both start out the exact same way. Mysterious fog, demons, and they're both made by the same developer. It's very easy to make this mistake. Well, I've already gone this far. Sorry everyone, slight change of plans. Well, at least I won't have to hear people say, well, Vadi did it better. Well, you know what? Of course he did it better. Have you heard that man's voice? It's like a fairy made out of butter that lulls you to sleep at night. Happy April Fool's Day, and welcome to LoreDive, where we look into and analyze the stories behind all of our favorite video games. Today we are going into the game Lost Kingdoms, an RPG originally released for the GameCube in 2002. Lost Kingdoms was something of a departure for the then relatively lesser-known developer FromSoft, who was more well known for creating the Kingsfield and Armor Core series, as this was several years before Demons and Dark Souls was on anyone's radar. So while this story may not be as dark as Demon's Souls, multiple narrative elements do appear to have been borrowed for the title. So please, sit back, relax, and let's talk about Lost Kingdoms. In the beginning, the world was a vast, endless void, and it remained as such until three gods found themselves desiring to make the world something more. These gods were known as the God of Creation, the God of Destruction, and the God of Harmony. Together, the three gods created the world and all creatures upon it. The God of Creation was particular to the humans that littered the world, calling them its little ones. The God of Destruction, however, saw humanity in a very different light. Creation and destruction began to feud about how the world should be. They created armies of creatures and monsters and waged war upon each other. Countless beings were killed during the struggle. Eventually, the God of Harmony could no longer take the savage bloodshed between the two, and sealed them away into rune stones, 5 for the God of Creation and 5 for the God of Destruction. To ensure that the gods would not feud even if they were to reawaken, the God of Harmony sacrificed itself, sealing its body away and becoming a massive barrier, preventing the gods from ever crossing it. And though the god perished, it managed to leave one small part, one fragment of its mind behind. The rune stones that the God of Harmony sealed creation and destruction in were split amongst 10 tribes to protect, 5 in their respective continents. In time, the tribes that held the rune stones for the God of Creation became known as the 5 Kingdoms. These kingdoms were the Kingdom of Bashea, the Kingdom of Kendari, the Kingdom of Wit, the Kingdom of Grail, and the Kingdom of Elange. Hundreds of years passed, and the gods were all but forgotten. Peace would seem to reign for some time more, until reports came of a mysterious black fog that began encroaching upon the land. First, it swallowed up a forest in Bashea, then a nameless lake, then an entire village. Eventually, all of Bashea would be completely swallowed by the black fog. King Fiobane of Alonge, knowing that his kingdom would be the next to fall, attempted to collect the rune stones from the other kings. He left with his most loyal knights, leaving the castle in charge of the young Princess Katya. But it wasn't long before the castle was besieged by the Black Mist's horde. Katya followed her father's last command before he left, and rushed to obtain the rune stone, held within the castle. As she did, she was besieged by two monsters, and though things looked bleak for the young princess, she was given a deck of cards from an unknown source. With these cards, she could summon monsters of her own, and fight back against the creatures. After she defeated the two skeleton warriors, she found an old crone awaiting her. This crone introduced herself as Gerd, and revealed that the rune stones, and by extension Katya, were the only things that could keep the world from falling into darkness. Katya and Gerd attempted to follow in the steps made by King Fiobane, and the two traveled across the plains of Roel. While traveling, Gerd trained the young princess in the ways of battle, testing out her newfound abilities. While they were unable to locate the king, they were able to find several knights who had to stay behind either due to injury or simply due to being lost, and they were able to inform Katya of the king's next location, the town of Blasoon. Gerd allowed Katya to move forward on her own, and let her know that if she needed any additional assistance or information, to return to her shop where she would be able to help her in mastering new creatures if needed. Upon arriving in Blasoon, Katya found that the town was completely destroyed, with only a few soldiers and a single scholar remaining. The soldiers revealed that King Fiobane and his retainer Lord Unther had continued forward to the Ros Ami burial grounds, the grave sites of the kings of Alonge. The scholar who remained was named Alexander, and he was studying the small and friendly creatures known as red fairies. He seemed either unaware or unperturbed by the monsters running around, and asked that if Katya were to find any fairies on her journey, to bring them to him, and he'd be more than happy to give her cards of power in return. Katya moved forward to the Ros Ami burial grounds, and found several knights either dead or dying, including the previously unbeaten Lord Unther. Unther urged Katya to find her father at Castle Grail, where Fiobane was to meet with King Zelnan, before succumbing to his wounds. Due to the black fog, however, the only way the princess could find her way into the castle was by heading through the sewers. Upon entering the castle, she found the Grail forces decimated, all of them referring to a vile witch who was attacking the castle. It didn't take long for Katya to soon meet this so-called witch, who upon seeing Katya's runestone immediately took the offensive. Surprised by Katya's ability to control monsters herself, the mystery woman retreated, but not before revealing her name as Helena. Upon speaking to King Zelnan, he revealed that he and her father had fought against the monsters but were separated during the battle. He urged Katya to take Grail's runestone and gave her a new task. Collect all 5 runestones kept safe by the other kings. Only with their power would she be able to banish this black fog. With Katya's new task before her, she made her way to Kendari Castle. Kendari was the only kingdom not yet affected by the fog or the monsters within, and due to this, the king instantly dismissed Katya when she requested his runestone. Before leaving the castle, however, she was approached by a knight, who revealed that their runestone had in fact been stolen. The thief had been tracked to the nearby Yeprik mines, but all who had gone in the mines after them hadn't returned. Needing that runestone, Katya made her way to the mines, the source of Kendari's vast wealth. She explored the mines with a soldier who attempted to keep her safe, though Katya was the one who had to do the protecting the majority of the time. Eventually, they located the runestone, and nearby was one hunting for it, a monster known as the Puppet Master. Upon seeing Katya's runestone, it proclaimed that it would take it from her, in order to give it to its master, known as the Enchanter. Katya slew the Puppet Master and took Kandari's runestone for her own. Moving towards Castle Wit, Katya had to cross the burned-in field. Once the location of a major battle, only bleached bones remained. Until recently. As Katya crossed through the dangerous field, she recognized banners of her homeland. And on the field, fighting for his life, was her father. He was fighting against the horrifying Beelzebub. And though he fought his hardest, he fell to the might of the flying demon. Katya, full of emotion, wanted nothing more than to run to her father, but Beelzebub would not make this easy for her. After a heated battle, Katya held her dying father in her arms. With pride at what she had accomplished so far, he asked her to complete the mission of collecting the runestones, and gave her one final task of taking them all to the temple, before succumbing to his wounds. Katya, though her heart was heavy, moved onward towards Castle Wit. But once she arrived, she found that Wit's king and knights had already been defeated by Helena. The king had given all he could to keep his son, the young prince, safe, and was able to allow him to escape the castle and head to the nearby church. The king also revealed that this church is where they had hidden their runestone, revealing to Katya her next destination. He urged her to be quick, as Helena was also on her way to obtain the runestone. Upon arriving at the church, Katya managed to locate and take the prize before Helena, and in the church's secret room, learned about the truth of the world and the gods. She also read one revealing passage about what may have become of the piece of the god of harmony that had been left behind, finding that some claim that it tends to take the form of an old woman, guiding those who need help. Before she was able to leave the church, she was confronted by Helena, who had managed to abduct the Prince of Wit. Finding that she had lost their chase, she gave Katya an ultimatum: battle her in Wit's Colosseum, and the one who survives would take the other's runestones. Having no other real choice, Katya met Helena, and the two dueled to the death. Though the battle was long and hard, Katya prevailed and soundly defeated Helena. The mysterious card-slinger admitted her defeat and revealed the truth about who she was and why she was trying to collect the runestones. Helena, like Katya, was a princess, but she hailed from the continent past the massive divide that split the world. One day, one of the 5 kings, King Thalnus, invaded and began stealing the other runestones for himself. Eventually, Thalnus completed his objective and began calling himself Thalnus the Enchanter. He ruled over the entire continent, and using the Black Fog, he enslaved everyone to his will. Even so, he wanted more and set his sights on the continent beyond the barrier. He ordered Helena to go and retrieve the 5 runestones from the other continent in order to make himself all-powerful. Helena had managed to steal the runestone from Bashea, but ever since then, Katya had managed to get in her way. But she was glad. It was better for someone who had the will to fight against the Enchanter to have them, rather than one forced into servitude like her. Helena died there, in the Colosseum, another victim of the Enchanter, though Katya managed to find the prince unharmed and returned him home. With all the runestones collected, Katya returned to Gerd, who let her know that hidden away past the active volcano of Mount Jardoon lay a small, forgotten temple guarded by its own brand of monsters, the Rune Temple. Within this temple would be one that could help Katya put an end to the Black Fog and the Enchanter. Katya made her way through the temple and found herself face to face with the temple's guardian, the Black Dragon. Though powerful, it was no match for Katya at this point, and she met with the being that the temple contained, the spirit of the god of creation. The god revealed that it was in fact the god of destruction that was the cause of all that had happened, infecting Thalnos through his use and collection of the rune stones, releasing the god from its prison. Though imprisoned on the other continent due to the barrier, it used Thalnos to spread influence across the world, intending to conquer all. After Katya had acquired all of her stones, the god of creation was too released, but it could not bypass the barrier that existed. What the god of creation could do, however, was send Katya across the barrier to fight Thalnos head-on and to end the War of the Gods forever. Katya agreed and was sent to the continent's capital, Broach Black. Making her way through some of Thalnos' most powerful creatures, Katya proceeded to the center of the keep, and there, sitting upon his throne, was Thalnos. Thalnos recognized Katya's power and offered to make her his queen, but this proposal was short-lived. The two fought using the power of their respective rune stones, and after the battle, Katya stood victorious. Thalnos, having outlived his purpose, was discarded by the god of destruction. This god saw Katya as nothing more than an ant, and too attempted to push her aside, but something happened that it did not expect. The god was defeated by a human. Surprised and utterly dumbstruck by this possibility, the god of destruction recognized that it was no longer needed in this world, and decided to depart to places unknown, but not before leaving behind its own card, in case Katya ever required its power again. The god of creation too decided that it was time for it to move on, and decided to leave this world in the hands of the little ones that it so cherished. Without the black fog, the monsters soon retreated from the world, and Katya returned home to Elange, where she was crowned as its new queen. This story is the main tale of what happened to Katya during this time, but it's not all that occurred. Next time on LoreDive for Lost Kingdoms, we will look into what role Katya took in attempting to help others in the world, as well as additional trials she had to overcome. And that's it for this episode of LoreDive. Happy April Fools, everyone! I hope you weren't too disappointed. If you like this episode, please give a thumbs up down below, and subscribe if you haven't already if you want to see more of these come out. If you're interested in hanging out while I play some video games, you can come take a look at my Twitch channel. I currently stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I primarily stream Dead by Daylight, but I branch out to other games as well, so come by if you have a mind. If you can't make it to the Twitch channel, I also have a secondary channel down below where I upload gameplay edited videos, as well as export Twitch highlights, so come by there if you want to take a look. I also have a Patreon where you can gain access to exclusive videos not seen on the main channel, so if you'd like to help me make these videos extra special, I would really appreciate it. Speaking of, special thanks to Jack Freeman, my super special Patreon follower. With that, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.